Hello, I'm Susan and welcome back to the shop. Have you been seeing all those great laser cut digital files out there and wondering how to take them from that SVG to a finished product like this Christmas Countdown Ornament? That's what I'm going to show you how to do today. We're going to take an SVG that is from my Christmas Countdown Ornament on Thurman Design Company, and we're going to take it from that SVG, set it up in XTool's Creative Space. We're going to run it through an XTool S1 laser, and I'm going to show you how to put it together when we're done. If this is something you're interested in learning more about, then stick around. Let's get started.
So I already have XTool open on my desktop, and up in the right hand corner, which I've zoomed in on my screen, you'll see that it says open from computer or new project. So you will want to click on new project. This will open a new project on your screen. So the first thing you want to do is come on your top of the left hand column, and where it says image, you want to click on that. And what we're looking for and bringing in is the SVG image, or you can bring in a DXF if you want to prefer to work with that. But I'm working with an SVG today. So double click on it, and it opens it up on your desktop. As you can see, when you click on this, everything is grouped together. The other thing you will notice, I'll close this for right now, is you see the different colors in the bottom. These are the different layers that you will work with, either cut, engrave, or score. This is different processes. So for when you're working with any projects that you purchase from Thurman Design Company, you'll notice that we do everything that's cut in blue. You'll see everything that needs to be engraved will be black, and everything that needs to be scored will be red. So if you click on the different layers here, you click on the dot down here that's red, you notice that it highlights everything in red. You click on black, it highlights everything in black, so on and so forth with blue. So it makes it very easy for you to come in and set your parameters for your engraving, your scoring, or your cutting. Now, I'm going to set up parameters for me today, but your parameters are going to be different because I don't know what wood you're dealing with. I don't know which machine you're dealing with. Today I'm going to be working with an XTool S1, and it varies. Your settings will vary based on it. So you need to know your machine. You need to know how to work with it. Okay, so this is an S1. I'm going to be working with a piece of walnut plywood. That is what I'm going to cut this out on, and that's what I'm going to set my parameters to. So even though you'll see what I'm doing, please remember, test it out with the wood that you are working with, or acrylic. Doesn't matter what you want to make this out of, but test it out. It's very important. So now, like I was saying, each layer here, if you go to red, we're going to be working with score. So make sure that that is clicked, and please set parameters. So for mine, I am going to set a score to a power of 40 and a speed of 100. And you can do this very easily by just double clicking on it. It highlights it, and then you can type over top of it. You don't really need to drag these back and forth. So I've set that. I'm going to do a pass of 100, and I'm going to click off of it. I'm going to go to the next layer, which is going to be black. As you can see, it's highlighted everything here in black. I'm going to select engrave because that's what I want to do on that layer. And then I'm going to double click here, set the power to 30. Double click here, set that's 175, pass 1. Now we're going to work with lines per centimeter. I want to do 200. I'm going to leave it at bidirectional, and we're going to click off. And that sets all the parameters for everything that's black in here. So next we're going to move to the blue layer, and that's going to be a cut. So we're going to click on cut, double click on power. I'm going to set it to 100. 5, pass is 1. We don't need to worry about lowering a focus, and we'll click off. Now, I'm using a power of 100 because the type of plywood that I'm working with, it has a really nice color to it, but because it's a plier and it's plywood and it's multiple depths, I have found that using any power less than 100, I tend to get pieces that don't want to cut very well. So for my wood, that's what I need to use. But I caution you to make sure that you use what will work with the type of material that you're working with. Okay, the next thing I want to do is working with an S1. We're going to set the distance. So we're going to come over here and click on this little ruler. What I'm going to do is measure the distance between my laser and the wood. So when I click on this, as you can see over here, the little pin comes down and then comes over to the right, and it measures the distance between my laser and the wood, which is something you need to do. Now, the next thing you want to do is place this on your wood where you want it. This is all grouped together. It makes it very easy to move over. As you can see, there's a gray space on here. Make sure that it stays in the white area, so that is your cutting area. You can see the cross that you see on here is where my laser is positioned right now. I have a piece of wood on here in the machine that has nothing cut out of it except for the far end. So I don't need to worry about working around some other cut items. So this should be able to come in here, cut everything out exactly the way it's shown here. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is click on framing. We're going to hit the button down here. And it's framed out the area in which it's going to cut. So you can click on framing completed, and then we're going to go to click on process. Then you want to click start. Now you'll see that it says high power and low speed have been set for this process due to the type of wood that I'm using. It says to pay attention to the material status in the machine and make sure that you don't have any residues and stuff, because you don't want any fires. So click OK to process. Now click on the button here at the bottom of the S1, and it will begin processing. It typically does all the engraves first, then it will do score, and then it will cut. Now that it's finished engraving, you can see that it took 19 minutes and 15 seconds to engrave, cut, and score the entire countdown ornament on an XTool S1. Now I use a 40-watt laser. So once you're done with that, come over here, click OK. You can save your file, come up here, do File, do a Save As, and then you can save it to whatever file name that you want. And that will keep the settings that you used when you did this cut. So if you want to cut it again, your settings are saved. Next, I'm going to show you how to actually put the ornament together.
Before you stain or paint any of the pieces that you see here, you'll want to come in and sand them smooth. It will also, one tip it does is it takes off any, if for some reason you're engraving it and it leaves a little extra burn around it, it will take that off. But it also smooths this out. This piece is the centerpiece that turns, and you want to sand both sides of it because they want to be smooth so that when it turns in the ornament, it turns smoothly. After staining everything, then you want to come in and paint your Santa. Now, if you want you're doing this for a project for your child, let them do it. Let them paint it. If you don't want them using paint, they can use markers. You can use paint markers. You can even use colored pencils. It's up to you if you're doing it for a child's project. If you're doing this for a business, then yes, you want to do it nicely and you'll come in and paint. So I'm going to get these painted and sanded, and then I'm going to come back and show you how to put it all together. Okay, so I've got all the pieces either stained or painted the way I want them to be. So now it's time to put the countdown ornament together. So the first thing we're going to start with is the back. As you can see, there's a scored line that puts a circle right in the center of the ornament. And I have cut out a piece of cardstock that I'm going to glue to the center of that. Now the reason I'm doing that is the piece of the circle that was cut out of the middle of the countdown numbers is going to get glued to this. Now if I glue that directly to the board and put this on, it doesn't give you a lot of flexibility as far as being able to easily turn this. Where if I put a piece of cardstock in between it, it gives a little bit more height between the back, this piece, and then when the front comes on, and it will allow it to turn a little bit easier. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Now, the circle, if you don't have a cutting machine like a Cricut, a Silhouette, or XTool M1, what you can do is you can take the circle, put it down on a piece of paper, cardstock, trace it, and then just cut it with a pair of scissors. Then you take that and you glue it, like I said, to the center of the back ornament that has the score lines in it. So let's do that first. So I'm just going to get some basic paper glue for this, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue on it. I'm going to spread it around because you want a nice even coat. You don't want it putting big blobs in any one spot. And then just put it down in the middle of the back, as you can see. Just as long as it stays within the center of that. I like to make mine just a little bit smaller than the circle. There we go. Next we're going to take the centerpiece. This is the piece, like I said, that was cut out of the countdown circle that goes in the middle. And this is going to get put lined up with the score lines. You can see the score lines that are on there, right? This is going to line up within those score lines. And this is going to be put down with wood glue. And it's very important that it stays within those score lines because this is then going to set on top of this and spin. And you want to make sure that it lines up so it doesn't stick out past the edges. So it's important that this circle lines up with the circle that's on the back side. So we're going to use, I'm using some Tight Bond, Instant Bond, which adheres pretty quickly. It doesn't give you a lot of time to mess around. So what I'm going to do is put a few drops on here. Doesn't take a lot. I'm going to put it down on the center. And then I'm going to put my circle around it with the numbers, line it up with the sides to make sure that it's good, top and bottom, and then make sure that piece of wood sticks down. That way you know you've got a good adhesion and you've got it in the right spot for your wheel to turn. So, and there it is like that. Okay? Next thing, we're going to put the wheel on and we'll set that aside. Now, for me, you can do one of two things. This is the top of the ornament. You can adhere that now, or you can put build the Santa face on top of it before you do. Now, I like to put mine on first, because that way I can play with it and make sure everything's lined up. Make sure that this still spins underneath of it. This is going to get glued only to the circle in the middle. So you put your glue on here, not on here. So put a few dabs of glue on. Okay. And then what we're going to do, we're going to put the 25 centered into the top of the ornament right here, lines up with here. I'm going to lay it down, and then I'm going to make sure this window lines up with that 25. And I'm going to take and put my fingers around the edges to make sure that the sides line up, and then I'm going to push down in the middle. So your window lines up with the top of your ornament. Hold it for a little bit to make sure that glue adheres. And sets up. And then there we go. If you hold onto the top, see how this easily spins around. Easily spins around, and that's what we want it to do. We want it to easily spin. Okay? It's nice and loose in the middle. So you see it nice and loose in the middle, and it turns very easily around. Counts down the days till you get to your present, which is Christmas Day. Now, next you want to put the hat on, and you just need to make sure it stays within the lines, but you want to make sure it lines up with your little window, because the window gets on top of the one below. Do you see that? Put some glue on it. Put it inside the score lines. You want to press it down. Make sure that window, stick your fingers, little fingers in there, or a pencil, something. Just make sure that the window lines up with the one on the bottom. Just like that. And there you go. Now the hat is on. As you can see, the window lines up so you can clear. I know you guys can't clearly see because of the light, but it still shows the line going around it. And then you'll just continue to build the face. Next I'm going to put on the hat, the brim of the hat. Put a little glue on. And just put it on so it stays in just inside the score lines. And press down. Make sure it adheres. And we'll continue building. So as you can see, when it comes to the bumble, there's actually 3 layers to it. It's coming along nicely. Next we're going to put on the eyebrows. I lay them in place to figure out exactly how they get put on. And then I flip them over, or you can just put some glue right in the spot inside the score lines. And then glue it in place. I don't think you guys are able to see anything. There. And we'll take this one. Okay. Next I like to put the nose on. And then we're going to put the mustache on. Make sure that these get tight to the nose, fairly tight, and stay within those score lines, because you want to have the room, you want to be able to have the room to put that beard on. So make sure that you're putting these in the right spot. Some of the other ones could be off by a little bit, but this one is important to keep it within those score lines so that the beard then fits right over top. Okay? We're going to take the beard and lay it over top. Keep it inside the score lines and just push it down. And that's why I like the fast drying glue, because it adheres pretty quickly. And there you are. You have a nice countdown ornament that's ready to go. It easily spins around. The star on it has nice smooth corners so it doesn't poke your children's fingers when they're turning it. It's nice and chunky so it fits in your children's hands very easily, and it's very easy to turn, and they can count down the days until Christmas. Well, that's everything for today. I hope you enjoyed the video and learning how to turn an SVG into a Christmas ornament like I did for my Days Until Christmas or Countdown ornament. We'll see you again next time at the shop, and I hope you come back again soon.